Tehran now and speak to Professor Seyed Marandi from the University of Tehran. Thank you very much for being here on the programme. This move to actually break the 2015 accord, is that deliberately provocation from Iran on this?
No, the Iranians believe actually the provocation is clearly coming from the United States. The United States has torn the agreement, it's in complete violation, and it is bullying other countries, such as European countries, such as Britain, not to abide by their commitments. And because of U.S. intervention in European affairs and in British affairs, basically what the EU is doing is that they are abiding by American sanctions, and they are in complete violation of the nuclear deal. So for the last year, over a year, the Iranians have been the only side that has been fulfilling its side of the bargain.
But you talk about being in violation of the deal. By raising this enrichment levels, Tehran has clearly broken the 2015 deal. Do you expect retaliation from Europe as well as the Americans? Are you prepared for that in Tehran?
No, what has happened is that the Europeans have broken the deal. The Europeans cannot be in a deal just by saying that we are in the deal. They have commitments. They were supposed to protect their companies. They were supposed to protect their citizens. They were supposed to protect their businessmen and women, their banks, their insurance companies from the Americans, and the Europeans have not done that. So the Americans have intimidated Europeans into not working with Iran.
And that threat we were playing a little earlier from the foreign ministry spokesman warning that Tehran would accelerate the process if the EU retaliates. Does Tehran really mean that?
Well, look, right now, the only reason why the deal has remained intact is because that over the last year, the Iranians have showed patience. In fact, when the Americans left the agreement, the Europeans literally begged the Iranians not to leave. They said that within a few weeks, they'll find a solution. Those few weeks have been over a year now, and the Europeans have done almost nothing. So the Iranians are now saying, we're going to begin to decrease our commitments, and most of the commitments are still in place as we speak, but such as monitoring. But the Iranians are saying we will gradually decrease our commitments in order to force the Europeans to abide by their commitments. It's like
you've gone through several of the stages since last year. Would it be fair to say that, when you look at this, take a step back, this 2015 deal, it is now dead?
Well, it's not dead currently because the Iranians are still abiding by it, but the Europeans are pushing it towards success. We have, over the last year, Europe has abided by American sanctions. The U.S. president has said that we are engaged in economic warfare against Iranians. That means against women and children. And the Europeans have abided by Trump's dictates from beginning to end. That is what the nuclear deal is all about. The Europeans were supposed to normalize trade in response to Iran's limitations in its nuclear program. How can we have one side abide by its commitments and the other side not abide by their commitments, and then you want to blame...
Just a final thought then, Professor. Is there any chance that the maximum pressure that the White House continue to talk about on this will actually bring Iran back to the table to renegotiate a new deal that perhaps is tougher in all those areas that Donald Trump was so unhappy about before?
There is no way that the Iranians are going to accept this. The Iranians know that if they appease the Americans, that will be very dangerous, because then the Americans will know that through bullying and threats and through tormenting women and children, they can get their way. And then every time the Iranians sit down with the Americans and negotiate, the next morning, if things don't go the American way, Trump will get up at 4 or 5 a.m. and send out a tweet saying new sanctions. The Iranians are not foolish. They're not going to do that. The only way forward is for the Europeans to grow a backbone and to abide by their commitments. If they abide by their commitments, then the Iranians will abide by their commitments. This is an arrogance that the Europeans are showing. So far they've been in complete violation, but they want to pressure Iran to abide by its commitments.
Professor, we have to leave it there, but thanks so much for your time there, live for us in Tehran. Thank you.